I'm Chase Briscoe, driver number 14 Ford Mustang for Stewart Haas Racing, and you're watching William Blackwell on YouTube.
I was wanting to hop on here for just a moment and to talk about the incident that just occurred between the 5 car of Kyle Larson of Hendrick Motorsports and the 45 car of Bubba Wallace for 2311 Racing. On a restart at the beginning of stage number 2, we saw a lot of side-by-side action. Eventually, that carried on, and we saw the 5 car racing the 45 car and the 4 car very hard. And coming off of turn 4, the 5 car of Kyle Larson got up the track and put the 45 car into the wall. And it was clearly Kyle Larson's fault. It's a racing incident. But Bubba Wallace then goes on to push the 5 car to the apron, and eventually he hooks him into the wall. And Kyle Larson hits the wall at full speed, around 170 miles an hour on driver's side. Very, very irresponsible, I guess you can say, for Bubba Wallace. He would then proceed to get out the car and strike the driver of the number 5 car, Kyle Larson, while Larson's starting to get his things undone of his helmet, his Honda device, you name it. And he starts to shove him repeatedly, and Kyle Larson just taking it and not going back at him. But eventually, the NASCAR officials come there and break it up, and Bubba Wallace walks back and he pushes an official. When you look at all of this, yes, Kyle Larson was in the wrong. It was a racing incident. It put the 45 car into the wall, but neither's driver Dave was done from it. It was just a kiss on the wall. He would have lost a little bit of momentum in a couple of positions, but hey, he could have still went on. But what Bubba Wallace did was very unprofessional, and he turned the driver of the number 5 car, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson is not in the playoffs, but another driver was involved in this wreck that is in the playoffs, and that's Christopher Bell. And Christopher Bell is out of the race. I'm filming this in the middle of the race. But Christopher Bell is out. So he has 2 weeks to make it to the Final Four. It's probably in a must-win situation. And that's a Toyota driver, so Toyota is going to be very frustrated with this decision Wallace made overall. But what I think needs to happen here, we've seen what happened to Alex Bowman. He has a concussion. He's going to be out until at least Phoenix, if not the rest of the year. Kurt Busch, a long-time NASCAR journeyman, has 32 career wins, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. And he has 1 championship, which was in 2004. He's not racing no more because of a concussion he sustained out in Pocono back in July during a qualifying run in the 45 car. So there's 2 drivers being hurt by concussions. And then we had Cody Ware at Texas a couple weeks ago, fractured his foot. There's a lot of injuries going on with this next-gen car. Why would you put another driver's health at risk, Bubba Wallace? That's all I got to say. Very immature. Very unprofessional. Kyle Larson, I believe, handled himself like a true champ. He got out the car, Wallace did, and charged him, and Larson did not fight back, didn't do nothing to retaliate. He just took it like a champ. No punches were thrown. It was just a bunch of shoving. And Larson was very classy in his interview, while Bubba Wallace wasn't so necessarily. But Larson did acknowledge the fact that a lot of drivers have been in this situation where they haven't done an intentional caution and wrecked somebody. But there's a lot of give and take on both sides. But I believe NASCAR has to lay the law down here. And what I mean by that is, with all the things going on, and you take it into account, and Kyle Larson still going for the owner's championship, I can see Bubba Wallace being suspended for a couple of weeks, if not the rest of the year. That isn't so bad. Because there are people that look up to both Kyle Larson and Bubba Wallace, and to see that on TV is not a good look for them, and nor the sport of NASCAR. I know they're wanting to build up the hype and stuff like that, But these are two non-playoff drivers wrecking each other just because of stupid things going on. Bubba Wallace needs to be suspended, and that's the end of it. There's no complaining. There's no arguing back. It's common sense, folks. We're seeing too many people being hurt by these next-gen cars, and stupidity actions like that today should never happen again, and he deserves a lengthy suspension and a big fine. And very unprofessional, but hopefully y'all see where I'm coming from, because we're losing a NASCAR driver as in Kurt Busch, a driver that was one of my favorite drivers as I've grown up. And to see him no longer a part of the sport is kind of sad. And you just want to have that type of stuff cleared up so it won't ever happen again. And decisions like today Wallace made can cause things like that to happen again. And we do not want to see that. Hopefully, though, you see where I'm coming from. But please like and subscribe.